American and Chinese officials are meeting for a second day in London to try to ease trade tensions. Join us now on the progress and possible sticking points. Jim McGregor, APCO Worldwide, Greater China Chairman. I was just thinking, James, about how daunting it is to figure out what we really want in our relations with China in terms of trade, because there's so many different moving parts. I'm talking about, yeah, we'd like less of a trade imbalance, and we'd like them to be more fair in the way that they trade. That's one thing. But then there's security. We don't want to give them all this high-tech stuff, because we know what their eventual goal is in terms of their place on this planet. So we're being pushed and pulled in a lot of different directions. We need them as trading partners, right? So how do we walk this line? What should our negotiators, what should President Trump be trying to accomplish?
Well, I think that number one, they want to try to build some trust. Things have China and the U.S. have not been talking at all for a while, and now there's a lot of dialogue going on, including with the new ambassador who arrived here in Beijing 2 weeks ago. The thing is, we want to control what technology we give China, and we do that for good reason. But then China wants to, they've got some leverage over us with all these rare earths and materials that we need for anything from a fighter jet to a telephone. So people are looking at what's going on in London right now, is maybe they'll make some progress on that. The U.S. will reduce some of the controls we have, and they will open up more of the minerals. And this is I think going to be a back and forth for a while. There's a lot of trade that is outside those parameters, and China's actually been pretty good about market access right now, because they're feeling a lot of pressure from the U.S. trade, and that's been good for business here, because China's government being nice to foreign companies, American companies, because they don't want to lose them. Yep,
big drop in exports. They've got. Once again, though, they can feel the pain, but their people, the President Xi's willing to or at least not really dwell on how much pain the people in China are feeling. So they've always, got that ace in the hole as well. Jim, they can stand more pain. I'm sure it's tougher on their economy than ours, but they don't. I don't know. I think we have political pressures over here that President Xi is not under. You said we need to trust them more. Do we want to get to a point where we trust China? Should we trust China?
Well, for both countries to trust each other, they got to have some parameters on where they can talk. They always used the nomenclature used to be that let's get past our differences and force on, talk about where we agree. At least we can get some things where we both agree to get some conversations going. But yeah, this is look. What would the U.S. ask be in a big trade deal? It would be China, change your system, get rid of those SOEs, get rid of all the subsidies and all of the state enterprise you do, and basically the authoritarian capitalism. China would say, okay, well then you guys get rid of any controls that us. We have access to all technology, and neither of those things can happen. So I guess we both have to just slip a little back and forth and work it out piece by piece. But this is going to be a forever process.
Hey, Jim, we were talking yesterday about how the team in India working on those trade talks had agreed to stay longer than had been anticipated. We assume that's because some progress was getting made. We haven't heard anything today. Do you have any insights as to what's happening with India?
With India, no. I'm a China guy. I'm sitting in Beijing, which is quite a ways from India, where we're working.
So, Jim, if they agreed to just level everything out, in terms of what you were saying, the subsidies and all the ways that they've gamed the system, then are we willing to compete head to head on really who is the preeminent power on the planet? If we do it fair and square, are we willing to do it that way? Are they willing to? I wouldn't mind a fair fight, maybe, but at this point, I just worry about how they go about things. And I guess all's fair in love and war, but I don't want them to win in 50 years.
What we have here are two completely, not completely, but very different systems that are successful in their own way, but they're incompatible with each other when they get out into the international marketplace. China's system works well in China, but once these subsidized companies get out of here, they can be looked at as predatory because it's hard for a company that has to make money to compete with them. So I don't know. We have to figure out a way for these two systems to coincide in the world somehow.
Taiwan.
Neither is going to change.
Right, but we got Taiwan and spy balloons and buying up farmland near all of our military bases and Uyghurs, and I mean, we're not friends. We're not. We have to do business with them though, because the global economy depends on it. I probably just got blacked out in China.
Well, our people also are quite intertwined. You know, the people-to-people stuff is strong. The businesses are so tight. I would just hope that the temperature can be brought down, and we can just step by step just make it a little more normal, you know, and emphasize. Look, I'm no panda hugger. I've been here watching what China's been up to.
Panda hugger. I like that. I like that. We know some. Yeah, we know. Yeah, right.
I'm not. I'm very clear on what China's doing, but I'm also clear on how we've got to live together in the world.
They're cute. They are cute. You got it, especially with the Cubs. Oh my God. All right, Jim.
One last question, Jim. Can we trust them if we do have a deal that we reach?
Well, what did Ronald Reagan say? Trust but verify. I think we got
He said a lot.
That's what we got to do.